Hi there. This time we're looking at some very special Ionanthas in Gary's back corner of his greenhouse. Ignore the trays of plants that people would die to have in their backyard. They're just sort of left to their own devices. We've got some very special Ionantha varieties here. So what we've got right there is a Tillandsia extra small with a super deep purple flower. So that's just been collected from a seed patch, and it's a very nice cultivar. Here we have another Fuego, but it's tagged as super red, and you can probably tell why. And then down the bottom here, these guys are an unknown cross, but they have a very nice thick leaf and very chunky pups, so will be a very cool one to grow on.
That is as red as it ever gets. It's a pretty green Ionantha, but that is the maximum red that you get out of it. So it's just quirky, just different.
Another bunch of different Fuego varieties, so some thin leaf ones, Thai imports, some stuff that Gary's picked out of his growed seed batches over the years. Here we've got another special one made by a fairly famous Australian grower, Bob Hudson. Parentage is unreleased, but it is Ionantha Mini White, and it's gorgeous. Very small, bright red, pink tips on the flower, on the plant itself, and very white centers. Bit hard to see, but yeah, very white centers on them. And then moving down the chain, we have another little clump of miniature peanuts. So the peanuts are already one of the smaller varieties of Ionantha, and just to give you an idea of how small, there's my hand behind it. It's very hard to focus on. I apologize for that. And we've got some numbered varieties. So again, these will be a orangey, peachy color when they flower, and tagged with a collection number. It's quite common when you get down the rabbit hole a bit. They don't have their own names, they're not registered, but they do have collector's tags, so you can go back and chase who found them in what location and potentially find out parentage and stuff like that. Here's a little pot of White Knights. So I mentioned these in an earlier video. They never flush pink at all. They pretty much stay this yellowy green color, and the flowers out of them are very unusual because they are white flowers, which stand out in the Tillandsia world, especially in Ionanthas, because they are almost exclusively purple tubes. Moving over a little bit further, this guy here looks like a peanut, but it's actually a Ionantha monstrose. So it's a polypoidal, basically, a multiple growth head version of an Ionantha. And I'm trying to find it on the camera lens for you. It's very hard to get a shot of.
Do you want me to hold it?
I'm going to have to give up on that and try again later. But it's a very small plant. Very desirable if you can get a hold of them, but very unique. Same as this big clump over here. So these are Renatas, but in the world of rare plants, you might recognize them as elbow marginated Ionantha. So you can see there definite green and white striping on all of the leaves. So it is a variegated Ionantha. They do happen, and as you can imagine, these guys fetch a very pretty penny on their own when they do come up for sale, which is not very often at all. They tend to be a very prized part of people's long-term collections and not really passed around too often. We've got some more different Ionantha forms. So this guy here is a recurved Ionantha. You can see how much those leaves fold back on the plant itself. So it's another different growth habit. Still an Ionantha, but very different again. There's Vas stricta. There's all kinds of weird and wonderfuls in here. I think that's another Sumo, so Ionantha Sumo, which, as you can imagine, gets quite chunky. They're very fat leaves for the Ionantha family. Compared to the little guy down here, you can see that the leaves are probably 2 or 3 times as wide at the base. And you've got some proper small Mexican varieties. This one's tagged as Ionantha Bravo. It's a very white, very hairy variety. And this one here is a Funkiana crossed with an Ironantha. So again, it's almost coalescent and stem-like how it grows. So that's the Funkiana parentage coming through. But the colouring, the leaf shape, that's all Ironantha. So hopefully you like this little spotlight on Gary's prized Ionanthas in his collection. And if you got any other special stuff you want to see, just let me know. There's another peanut to finish on. Aren't they gorgeous? Fully grown, less than the size of my thumb. Alright, thanks for watching.